The Hey Eddie podcast is brought to you by Lose Your Donkeys a Lot. Spend 3 days wandering through Ephraim, Shalishah, Shalem, and Benjamin with nothing to show for it? Introducing Saul's Donkey Tracking app. Simply attach your tiny GPS tracker to your donkey's ear, and you'll never have to visit a prophet just to find your livestock again. Track up to 12 donkeys at once. Get alerts when they wander. See exactly where they are on a map of the tribal territories. Saul's Donkey Tracking app, because not everyone who loses their donkeys is going to end up finding a kingdom. Download now and get a free quarter shekel of silver, just in case you need to pay a prophet anyway. Available in the App Store and also at the Oak of Tabor. Donkeys not included. Kingdom definitely not included. Results may vary. Most users just find donkeys. This is the Hey Eddie podcast. I'm your host, Cousin Michael. The Hey Eddie podcast is dedicated to helping kids like my cool cousin Eddie learn about the Bible and learn important lessons about God, about Jesus, and about life. The Bible is indeed God's gift to kids, a lamp to our feet and a light to our path. On today's episode of the Hey Eddie podcast, we're going to be studying 1 Samuel chapter 9 verse 1 through chapter 10 verse 16 in a lesson titled Looking for Donkeys, Finding a Kingdom. This lesson will teach us that God is working behind the scenes even when you can't see it, and He can use the most ordinary things to accomplish His extraordinary plans. Our key memory verse is 1 Samuel chapter 10 verse 9. God changed Saul's heart, and all these signs were fulfilled that day. Hey Eddie, have you ever gone looking for one thing and found something completely different? Like maybe you were looking for your missing sock and you found that toy you lost 6 months ago. Or you were looking for the remote control and found $1 under the couch cushions. Well, in today's story, a young man named Saul goes looking for some lost donkeys. Just donkeys. That's all he wanted to find. But instead, he finds a kingdom. This is one of the craziest stories in the whole Bible. Ready? Let's go. First, let's meet our main character. There was a man from the tribe of Benjamin named Kish. He was wealthy and important, and he had a son named Saul. Now, here's the thing about Saul. He was impressive. The Bible says there wasn't a man in all Israel more handsome than him, and he was tall, a head taller than anyone else. If you were in a crowd, you could spot Saul right away because his head would be sticking up above everybody else's. He looked like a king. He looked like exactly the kind of guy Israel wanted when they demanded a king like all the other nations. But looking like a king and being a king are two very different things. One day, some of Kish's donkeys wandered off. These weren't just any animals. Donkeys were valuable. They were like having a truck and a tractor combined. You needed them for work. So Kish said to Saul, "Take a servant and go find those donkeys." Simple enough, right? Saul and his servants searched everywhere. They went through the hill country of Ephraim. They went through the land of Shalishah. They went through the land of Shalem. They went through the territory of Benjamin. Days passed, 3 days of searching, and they found nothing. Finally, Saul said to his servant, "Let's go home. My father is going to stop worrying about the donkeys and start worrying about us." The servant had an idea. The servant said, "Wait, there's a man of God in this town, a prophet. He's highly respected, and everything he says comes true. Maybe he can tell us where to find the donkeys." Now here's something interesting, Eddie. Saul didn't know who this prophet was. He had no idea that Samuel, the most famous man in Israel, lived nearby. Samuel was known to everyone except Saul. That tells you something about Saul. He wasn't very tuned in to spiritual things. But off they went to find Samuel. As they were walking up the hill into town, they met some young women coming out to draw water. "Is the seer here?" Saul asked. "Yes, he just arrived today. Hurry, you'll find him before he goes up to the high place for a sacrifice. If you go now, you'll catch him." So Saul and his servant hurried up into the town. And just as they entered, there was Samuel coming right toward them. Now, here's where the story gets amazing. The Bible says that the day before, God had told Samuel a secret. Tomorrow, about this time, I will send you a man from the land of Benjamin. Anoint him as leader over my people Israel. He will deliver my people from the Philistines. I have heard their cry. God told Samuel exactly when Saul would arrive, about this time tomorrow. So when Samuel saw Saul walking toward him, God spoke again. This is the man I told you about. He will govern my people. Think about it, Eddie. Saul thought he was just looking for donkeys. He had no idea that God was directing his steps the whole time. The wandering donkeys, the failed search, the servant's suggestion, the timing of arriving in town, all of it was God working behind the scenes. Saul was looking for donkeys, but God was looking for a king. Saul walked up to Samuel and asked, "Can you tell me where the seer's house is?" Samuel replied, "I am the seer. Come meet with me today, and tomorrow I'll tell you everything that's on your heart." Then Samuel said something wild. "As for the donkeys you lost 3 days ago, don't worry about them. They've been found." Wait, how did Samuel know about the donkeys? How did he know it had been 3 days? Saul hadn't told him anything. But Samuel wasn't done. He added, "And to whom is all the desire of Israel turned, if not to you and your father's family?" Saul was confused. He said, "But I'm from Benjamin, the smallest tribe, and my clan is the least important in the whole tribe. Why are you saying this to me?" Saul didn't understand yet, but he was about to find out. That night, Samuel treated Saul like royalty. He gave him the seat of honor at a feast with 30 guests. He served him the best piece of meat, a portion usually saved for priests. He talked with him late into the night. The next morning, Samuel walked Saul to the edge of town, and then he sent the servant ahead so he and Saul could be alone. And then Samuel did something incredible. He took a flask of oil and poured it on Saul's head. Then he kissed him and said, "Has not the Lord anointed you leader over his inheritance?" Saul was being made king, right there, just the two of them. No crowds, no trumpets, no ceremony, just oil and a word from God's prophet. But how could Saul know this was really from God? Samuel gave him 3 signs. Samuel said, "Here's how you'll know this is real. Sign 1, when you leave me, you'll meet 2 men near Rachel's tomb. They'll tell you the donkeys have been found and that your father is worried about you now. Sign 2, then you'll meet 3 men going to worship at Bethel. One will be carrying 3 young goats, another 3 loaves of bread, and another a skin of wine. They'll greet you and give you 2 loaves of bread. Sign 3, when you get to Gibeah, you'll meet a group of prophets coming down from the high place, playing instruments and prophesying. And the Spirit of the Lord will come upon you in power. You'll prophesy with them, and you'll be changed into a different person." Can you imagine hearing all that, Eddie? 3 specific, detailed predictions about things that hadn't happened yet. If they all came true, Saul would know that God was really behind this. Saul turned to leave Samuel, and the Bible says God changed Saul's heart, and all these signs were fulfilled that day. Every single one. The 2 men told him about the donkeys. The 3 men gave him bread. And when he reached Gibeah, he met the prophets, and the Spirit of God rushed upon him. Shy, quiet Saul started prophesying right along with them. The people who knew him were shocked. They said, "What has happened to the son of Kish? Is Saul also among the prophets?" It became a famous saying. Whenever something totally unexpected happened, people would say, "Is Saul among the prophets?" Something had changed in Saul. God had given him a new heart and equipped him for his new job. When Saul got home, his uncle asked, "Where have you been?" "Looking for the donkeys," Saul said. "When we couldn't find them, we went to Samuel." "Oh, what did Samuel say?" Saul answered, He told us the donkeys had been found, and that was it. Saul didn't mention the oil. He didn't mention being anointed. He didn't mention the kingdom. But he did not tell his uncle what Samuel had said about the kingship. The biggest news of Saul's life, and he kept it a secret. For now, only Saul and Samuel knew what God was doing. So what does this mean for you? First, God is working even when you can't see it. Saul thought he was just looking for donkeys. He had no idea God was guiding every step. When life feels random or confusing, remember, God might be doing something bigger than you realize. Second, God can use ordinary things to accomplish extraordinary plans. Lost donkeys, a servant's suggestion, girls at a well, none of it seemed important, but God used all of it to make Saul king. Don't despise the small, ordinary stuff in your life. Third, looking the part isn't the same as being the part. Saul was tall and handsome. He looked like a king. But as we'll see later, looking like a leader and having the heart of a leader are two different things. What matters most is what's on the inside. Fourth, God equips those he calls. Saul wasn't naturally spiritual, but when God chose him, God also changed his heart and gave him his spirit. When God calls you to do something, he'll give you what you need to do it. Fifth, God's timing is perfect. Samuel knew Saul was coming about this time tomorrow. Not early, not late, exactly when God said. Trust God's timing, even when it doesn't make sense to you. So remember, Saul went looking for donkeys and found a kingdom. You never know what God is up to behind the scenes. This has been the Hey Eddie Podcast. I'm your host, Cousin Michael. Remember that the Hey Eddie Podcast is dedicated to studying the Bible and learning important lessons about God, about Jesus, and about life. Today we discussed 1 Samuel chapter 9, verse 1 through chapter 10, verse 16. Tune in soon for another episode of the Hey Eddie Podcast, where we'll study 1 Samuel chapter 10, verse 17 through 27. Love you, Eddie.